Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the Mary
And Jerry,
podcast,
where we talk about
faith and family,
life and love.
bacon, chocolate, marriage,
And soon bourbon,
okay,
and
everything in between.
which always comes after marriage, oddly.
Yes.
Anyway.
So it's been, we took a little 2-week break because we had some illness to deal with. I had some illness to deal with.
I just want it known to our audience that I did extremely well with your last emergency room
You
visit,
did.
didn't
He was a champ.
I didn't even scowl at the nurses.
No, he didn't. So
Oh.
I had a little kidney issue that I had to kind of go get addressed. And I ended up in the emergency room, and Jerry did a great job. He hates hospitals, especially since our daughter spent so much time in hospitals. But this time he did a great job. And he's known for making faces and lots of inappropriate grunting noises and generally being not happy with the situation.
I'm on like a watch list at the local hospitals.
are not.
Like, watch out for this guy because he is one grumpy dude.
Anyways, but you did great. You were very attentive to me. You were very helpful. And anyways, so we're back after a little break. And today we are going to talk about something that we get asked about all the time.
Because we are at that certain age.
We are. So we're going to talk about cultivating a positive and healthy and warm relationship with your adult children.
Dun, 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 dun.
So we are not
What do we define as adult children?
anybody that's left the house.
Okay, just to be clear.
Right.
So if they're still living at the house, then that's a different set of rules.
Well, okay. Wow, that's a good question. All right. So
I know. See how I did that?
I would well, your adult children, if they've gone,
If they've boomeranged?
yeah. Okay. So this is a very unscripted show. So that was a little bit of a surprising question because I wasn't prepared for that. But let's talk about that. All right. So we're not going to talk about our child specifically because he doesn't live his life online and his privacy is his, and that's a boundary that we have.
But
We'll talk about boundaries. But we will do a general overarching kind of the 5 rules that we follow.
and we can do that because of field research that we have done, a la having dinner with all of our friends that have adult children.
Yes.
And we all, it's uncanny
How everyone's alike.
how all of our children of that generation, and yes, I'll make broad sweeping
Now,
statements.
when we say adult children, we're talking specifically about, I would say, post-college, like 22.
I would over 25. Let's just be realistic. Over
I
25
would think-
or married, because if you're married, you grow up very quickly, right?
Well, yes. I mean, but I was married at 20.
And we grew up very quickly,
we
didn't we?
did.
But my point is, we had dinner with some friends of ours before the holidays.
Right. And these are all people that we have traveled life with for the
We
last
have
20.
known for 25 years. All of
Right.
our kids grew up literally together. We all went to the same parish.
Yes.
And
They
now
were in our family group.
they're in our
little religious ed.
back in the day when you could do religious ed as a little family group. And then now, of course, a lot of their kids are married, have their own kids,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. So we started talking about our children, as old people tend to do. How
Okay,
they
hold on.
doing? How's this doing?
Right.
And
Right.
then, we started
We kind of asked each other questions like, okay, so if this situation were to
Right.
happen, not naming names, but if this situation were to happen, how would you handle it? And every single one of them was like, oh, well, that happened to us, blah,
right.
blah, blah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? That happened to you? And they're like, yeah, that happened to us. That happened to us. That happened to us. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
It's when you have adult kids, a lot of the issues are very similar. So it's kind of like,
Could it be because they were all basically, we get this feedback from, all of you baby boomers, all you boomers.
you're the only boomer in the group. Oh, no, actually, you're not. We're the youngest.
Okay, thank you. We're in the middle.
No, we're the youngest in that group.
We are
There's
the
only one other
youngest.
family that was younger than us.
We are the youngest.
Okay,
so they
they
are
are baby
boomers.
boomers, yeah.
Thank you. That's why I'm the boomer
Their
in chief.
kids are all in their 30s, like 20s and 30s.
Late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's set the table
So
here.
navigating-
This is not unique to us.
No, it is not. So navigating relationships with adult children is kind of like
Driving your ship through a minefield?
or exploring a city without a map. It's
That's a good analogy
exciting.
too.
and thrilling, but it's a tad overwhelming.
And don't go down a dark alley.
Don't go down the dark alley. Exactly. So here are the 5 rules, and I'm going to add a bonus rule. We'll start with the bonus rule.
Wait, how can you start with the bonus rule? Don't you have to do the 5 rules first?
No, we're going to start with the bonus rule because
Okay,
I
what's the
really think
bonus rule?
this is the most important.
Okay, go ahead.
Is to pray for your kids.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a given.
Well, is it though?
Well,
Because
that you should.
You should pray for your
children. You should pray for your kids.
I mean, and not only them, like we have a daughter-in-law and now we have a grandchild and so you pray for your children every single day. You pray for their jobs, their health, their just how they're doing in life. And you just cover them.
Like a big old blanket.
You cover them with prayer. Okay, so that's really where we begin. We always begin and end in the middle, all around, surround them with God's mercy, God's grace, with prayer. Number 1. Okay, so the 5 golden rules.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Number 1, respect their independence.
Respect their independence.
Yes. So you've got to treat them like the adults that they are. It's hard, right? This means stepping back. It's kind of like watching them ride a bike for the first time. Remember when we did that and you're stepping back and you're watching and they're wobbly and they're unsure and you're kind of like cheering them on and saying, you can do this, but you do not have your hands on them at all.
And you're hoping they don't land in the gravel face first.
Well, the thing is that they're gonna.
Yeah.
And that's, I've got to say, as a mother, that's the hardest thing. Because we were helicopter parents and we fixed a lot for our children.
Guilty.
Which you shouldn't do, FYI. That's another podcast. Just don't do that.
I think that was definitely a generational thing because, our parents, and at least my parents, were
our parents.
Totally not helicopter parents.
No.
Totally not.
I was independent by the time I was 8.
Well, I mean, my parents, they set expectations.
Yes, very high expectations.
And then they're like, okay, go get them.
Go get them. Yep.
And, it's like, well, son, guess you screwed that up. How are you going to fix it next time?
Exactly. They did a lot of natural consequences, which is, I got to say.
Is that what you say for,
it's natural
well,
consequences.
son, you screwed that up. How are you going to fix it next time?
Well, my dad didn't sound like that, but my dad was like, well, this is the choice you made. These are the natural consequences. Now you've got to live with it.
Your dad was a lawyer too, so I'm sure he said that with a legal flair.
He did. And an Irishman, so yes, very much a flair. But so you had to kind of, you messed up, you had to take responsibility and do it. And for some reason, we took that and we wanted to protect our children more than that. We overcompensated. And that's what led to therapy for us and him. So that's good. The point is all kids need therapy. It's just, let's not, what is it that we saw today?
Need therapy?
Oh, we so needed therapy.
Yeah.
We didn't get it until much later in our lives, but oh yeah. What is it that a friend of ours said this morning at breakfast? She said, "You want to be able to
buy a therapist a rowboat, not a yacht." Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Anyway, so we've got to respect their independence. They're going to do what they're going to do.
That's so hard to watch.
It's really challenging. I would say that's probably the most challenging thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now, of course, the caveats to that are, but Mary, what if they're living an immoral life? What if they left the church? What if they've done these things?
Yes, Mary.
You've got to respect their independence, guys. God gave them a free will too. And if that's what they're choosing to do, that's why I always start with prayer. You got to double down on the prayer. And with us and with several of our friends' children, it's leave the door open and a seat at the table. That was one of the things my mom taught me growing up was no kid is perfect and no relationship is perfect. So you just do the best you can.
Okay. I'm going to wait,
Yep,
hold
ahead.
on.
Oh, you're going to throw me under the bus.
I'm going to throw the flashbang in.
Yeah.
When do you say something? I mean, if you legitimately see your adult child making I would say, dangerous choice, do you say something?
Yes.
Okay.
But you have to be in relationship with them. Like if they've left your home and they have not spoken to you in 6 months to a year, there's no relationship there. The relationship is broken. And so how are you going to get their attention to even talk to them?
Well, I didn't say it was easy. I was just asking at what point. Because let's just go with... Go
Okay, you're
ahead.
asking me,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna ask you. So when do you step in, Dad?
Um, so I was just thinking now, obviously, we didn't have this problem because our son got married, but, what if your child is, as my mama used to say, living in sin? I mean, how would you I mean, that's a legitimate question. I mean, I'm not judging anybody, maybe a
Mm-mm.
little bit, but I mean, it's not a
Jerry Dunn, don't you dare.
I know.
Remove the plank from your own eye
I know,
before
but
removing
it's
the
not
splinter
uncommon
from
these
mine.
days. I mean,
Right.
let's just call it what it is. There are a lot of adult children of people, not us, that they're like, well, why get married? We're just living together. We're fine.
Okay, but then if they've been raised in the church and they've been raised with moral rules and regulations, then at some point you say, I can't, I mean, I can't support that. Like, I'm not going to come over into your home that you're living in sin with your boyfriend or girlfriend and eat at your table because I can't do that.
I mean, it's
And
it's
that,
a
and
it.
that gets very sticky and that gets very
Oh
hard.
yeah.
And, and it's really hard.
I mean, we do have
We are
friends that
not.
this is a legitimate
Oh,
issue,
this
right?
is, yeah, and not just that, but, living an alternative lifestyle or,
Yeah. I mean,
things of that
that's
nature.
I mean, it is that's why this is number
Number 1.
number well, 1A after pray for them, but number 1 is independence, right? Because
They have free will,
they have free will
and you
and
and we have been part of many a conversation, not just with people that we love. Do you understand the decisions that you're making? Do you understand the full ramifications
yeah.
of what you're doing?
Yep.
And that we love you so much and we are concerned for your eternal soul. And this was not with our own child. This was with dear friends, their child that we had a close relationship with. And we had to hold to that. And that's hard.
Mm.
We are not perfect parents. We are not perfect people. We are sinners. We get on here every week, most weeks, and we answer hard questions and we share our heart. And it's not perfect. It's really hard. Being parents is hard.
'Cause it never ends, right?
It never ends. You will always be a parent till the day you take your last breath, whether your child is doing as you want them to do or not, you know? So you do your best and you love them and you
Respect their
respect
independence.
their independence and their free will and pray really hard.
That always comes back to
It
that, doesn't
does.
it?
For
Yeah.
me, it does. Okay. So the second rule is to listen more than you speak.
Now that's an interesting one too.
When they come to you,
Right.
it's kind of like when you and I talk about communication between a couple, right?
Yeah, kinda is.
It's I don't need it fixed. I just need you to listen to me. And a
Mhm.
lot of the times they will come and walk through a scenario or looking for advice in some way, or maybe just they're verbally processing something, and you
That's
listen.
really big in our family, isn't it?
We are all
We are
verbal
all verbal
verbal
processors.
processors.
Yeah.
Well, our daughter-in-law isn't, but the rest of
Which is
us are.
interesting because I will say, because I think I will say that I have actually done that a couple of times when Jonathan has come and I'm like, and he starts talking and I go, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. So what'd you think about that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's
And by the end of the conversation, he's figured out whatever he needed
yeah,
to
it's
figure
kind of the
out.
same tactic I use with you. I'm like, okay, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So
Well,
what
it's active
now I don't
listening.
ask him how did that make you feel because we're Lenaburg men. We don't deal with our
Right.
feelings. But I did, I'm just like, huh, well, what do you think about that? And what well tell me more about that. How did that go? How did that work out?
Mhm.
So you have to kind of do some active listening, I
Yeah,
think.
so that's eye contact. It's the shaking of the head. It's the positive sort of, yes, I see that. I hear that. That kind of situation. So yeah, so you got to listen more than you speak. And that goes directly to the first one, which is respecting their independence, because a lot of the times you'll see them possibly making a decision that you feel is not in their best interest, and you have to hold your tongue.
But at least if they're coming to talk to you about it, I would
Yes.
consider that a positive thing. They
Yes.
may not, after you've quote unquote sort of talked it through with them, they may not make the decision that you think is the best one, but as you said, that's their
Free will.
decision to make. And you can at least, as you said before, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that?
Have you considered?
Have you considered? Because,
Mhm.
you have choice A or choice B, and each of those has pros or cons,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. And you may choose A, and I think you should have chosen B.
But
Oh,
you don't say that to him.
no,
You
but
just
I'm
say
just
there's
like,
A and there's B, and then you stop and you let him kind of
and,
wrestle with A and
and,
B.
and I'm like, okay, so, what's the pros of A, cons of,
Right.
that kind of stuff. And that's fine. Like I said, they've at least brought that to you. And, you at least have you can at least be satisfied knowing that you brought up all of the issues, concerns, ifs, ands, or buts, and at least they've thought them through.
True.
So that's fine.
Okay. So rule number 3,
Mm-hmm.
offer guidance, not directives.
Oh, that's really hard too.
So
Especially for me.
when they actually do ask for advice, which is miraculous, I think sometimes, you have to offer it gently without any attachment to it at all.
No judgment.
No judgment, no emotional attachment to it. It's the difference between handing them a map and pointing a map, rather. We're talking about going into the city, handing them a map and pointing out some landmarks to versus dictating every single step they should take, right? So we want to hand them a map and we want to say, you want to go down by the tree, turn right, but meander this way or meander that way. You cannot be attached to the outcome of the situation because that's just not healthy. And
3 goes back to 2.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to offer them guidance, counsel, wisdom.
If they ask.
If they
Only
ask,
if they
hopefully
ask.
talk it through with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it's their choice, right?
Well, it's always their choice.
It's
not
always their
eventually.
choice. Well, but I mean, in the process,
Correct.
it's eventually their
Mhm.
choice. And that's
It's the best you can do.
That's what you can do,
And hopefully how you've raised them to be good, moral, upstanding individuals, people of faith, they're going to make the best choice they can make.
And I think, the other thing as you go through this decision-making process, as has been pointed out on more than one occasion by more than one people is,
More than one people?
More than one people, of the people we know, the peeps, our peeps.
More than one person.
We are all products of our environment.
Correct. And our upbringing.
Mm-hmm. And of course, our upbringing was different than our children's upbringing, was different than our parents' upbringing. So when we are going through steps 1, 2, and 3 that we just talked about, it's important to keep in mind that the challenges that they are facing
are different than the ones
totally different than the ones we are. Both, I mean, from simple things like
just in the culture.
The culture, oh yeah, that's not a simple thing, but the culture, financial decisions, the financial world that they live in, the job market, the job world, right? My father worked for the same company for his entire career of 35, 7, whatever. He worked for IBM from pretty much the day he got out of college after getting out of the Army until he retired. One company. That was it. That's where I worked. Now me, I've worked for
5.
I don't know. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
5. His wife knows. 5.
5. My son, being an electrician, he may open his own business. He may work for a bunch of, who knows? But that, so when you try to, like, for example, pass career advice on to your son, it doesn't really work because
doesn't translate as well.
Doesn't translate as well. And the same thing with raising the kids, the culture. Oh my gosh, the culture these days. Let's just talk. Can we just talk about TikTok?
No, let's not.
No, let's not.
Okay.
But that's, it's crazy. It's just, I really have a lot of sympathy for parents of what do you call it? Preteens, tweens. What is that? Like 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds that their kids have been in this culture of iPhones and instant communication and social media and blah, 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 blah. Now they're coming into their teenage years when this stuff can just be ugly and devastating. And it's like, and people, we've had people come up and talk to us. I'm like,
You
yeah,
you don't even know
I
what to
have no
say.
frame of reference, you know? That's when you do a whole lot of listening and
Yes.
because I'm like, I have no idea what to tell you,
Well, I
how to
think as
handle
far
that
as,
situation.
social media and things of that nature, it's you have to teach them how to have good, healthy boundaries with it. And where their identity comes from is not from social media, it comes from the Lord. And
I
to
just thought about
guide them
parenting in
in
general.
well, yeah, and to guide them in the way of, personal relationships in person.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just it's a minefield. But it was a minefield for us in a different way. I think it's a minefield for any parent, but it's just a
Well, being a
different
teenager
minefield. Yeah.
generally universally sucks, no matter what era you're in. Sorry, when we did youth ministry,
Yeah, it didn't change a whole lot
you
from
know,
our
the
experience.
basic challenges and experiences that you go through as a teenager growing up are pretty universal. But now you do it all
Online.
online.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, it's
So that leads us to rule number 4, which was maintain healthy boundaries. So
how
this
does one do
goes
that?
both ways. You have to respect the boundaries they have put up, but they must also respect the boundaries you have put up. Like they're not allowed to
Oh,
come into your home and change around all your furniture, if you know what I mean. Like that's a metaphor. You
I was
can't,
saying no, no,
but you can't go into their house and change all their furniture either,
no.
So you
That my
have to
back would
have,
go out
uh,
or my
really.
knee. I'm sorry,
So
that was a
so no
metaphor.
metaphors for you.
No metaphors. I know. I would get a metaphorical spine injury.
Anyways, you have to maintain healthy boundaries. And that looks different for every family.
Example, please.
Oh, I'm nuts. I struggle with this one.
Well, I mean, from your friends.
Okay, so
Oh, surely you've had this
we will
discussion.
not discipline our grandchild. That is not our job. That is his parents' job. Unless he is in
I will
imminent
keep him from
danger.
sticking his finger in a light
Yes,
socket.
unless he is in imminent danger, there
Yeah,
will
that
be
will get a
no.
large no from
Uh-huh.
grandpa if he's going to put a screwdriver in a light socket.
Right. And when they say, like, when, the introduction of sugar or of if we go somewhere for dinner, what you order for them, things like that, I always check and say, is this okay? Would you prefer this or would you prefer that? They give the choices. Or I'll just simply ask, how would you like me to handle that? Because this is not my child. This is my grandchild. So,
That goes
um,
back to that part 1 of
right.
respect
Respect their
their
independence.
independence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
when you get right down to it, let's just call it what it is. If based on our conversations with our friends, that's
that's the
the most
hardest thing.
challenging
Yeah.
thing because and I think it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
Like all of our friends, all of their kids are like, and I find this somewhat amusing in a cynical, snarky way because I'm me. They're like, well, we're not going to raise them like you raised us because you guys made a
Okay.
lot of mistakes.
But here's the thing. Did we not say the same thing?
Oh, it's
Yes, we
oh
did.
yeah, absolutely. And uh, but the difference is my parents would never admit they did that.
Oh, that they make mistakes?
Yeah.
Oh, mine did.
Oh no, Donald and Eleanor Lenaburg? No.
Mine did.
No.
But they didn't do it until we were adults and had our own children.
Right.
And then my mother's always been so generous and saying, I did the best I could with what I knew how to do.
And this is the funny part because
that's
this is what
it.
we were talking about all our friends with, and they're like, well, and it's kind of funny because early, I'll just say this, and if I get in trouble, I get in trouble. Early in our marriage, our son thought we were smarter than we were as we were raising him, and I'm like, wait,
Oh, he actually told us that. He
yeah,
goes,
he's
what
like,
do you mean you make
he's
mistakes?
like, well, you did this, and you did that, and I'm like, dude, I said, yes, you thought that, what was it? He said, his quote was, well, Dad, you had this all figured out. And I laughed at him. I'm like, dude, we didn't have, you thought that we knew what we were doing as 25-year-old parents.
We did not.
We did not.
We were just doing the best we could.
We had some mentors. We had some
Praise
examples. We had our parents that we could ask in very tight controlled situations because my parents did definitely not respect boundaries or our independence.
No.
But
Mine did. Yours
We
struggled.
we were not perfect parents.
No.
We didn't know everything.
Still
And
don't.
we still don't. And much like now, a lot of days we make it up as we go. So when you look back 30 years later and you're like, boy, you guys really screwed that up. We're like, yeah, we did.
We did. And we're sorry.
And we're sorry, but we
did the best we
did the
could
best we could with the
with
information
that
we had in the circumstances we were in
Amen.
at the time.
Yep.
And guess what?
That's all anybody can do.
That's all anybody can do,
Yeah.
including you.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen.
everybody's like, well, I'm not going to make the same mistakes my parents made. Well, I hope not, but you're going to make your own.
Exactly.
And so did we.
Exactly.
And you know what? That's okay.
That's okay. It's called growing up.
It's called growing up. It's called making your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And like we had a certain advantage because we were in the military moving around. We, except for my first shore tour, we never
we weren't around family.
We weren't around family. My first shore tour, we were around family, which was a good thing because your dad had cancer.
And
Courtney was in Bethesda
seizures.
Naval Hospital all the time.
Yeah.
And we were able to actually rely on them. But like, you know, we were not like that traditional, you know, not even say traditional, the ancient family situation where, you know, your entire extended family lived in
multi-generational living,
lived in the same county,
yeah,
and saw each other every Sunday at grandma's for supper, right? Because everybody went to grandma's for supper on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, did you grow up that way? I didn't grow up that way because
because my grandmother was 6 hours away in the western part of Oklahoma,
and my grandparents were 12 hours away in different states. So we always had Sunday supper where the family gathered for dinner. So it was, you know, myself and my siblings. Anyways, okay. So
did we digress?
We went off on a tangent, which we're known to do. So that's kind of like maintaining.
What's number 5? Oh, maintain the boundaries.
So number 5, which I think is the most fun part of this, which is cultivate shared interests. Find common ground. If you love the same TV show, if you love to play dominoes, which is our family game, if you,
is passed down
if you're
among
reading
the
same books, Jessica's teaching me how to knit.
How's that coming?
It's not well. She's so
have you
talented.
Progressed past washcloths?
No, I have not. It's the purl that gets me. It's the knit and the pearl.
Pearl.
Anyway, she's very, very patient with me. But you know, what is the common ground there? What do you share?
Mostly cooking meat.
Yes.
For my son.
True.
And I, cooking meat.
But when you can do that, when there's some common shared interest,
mm-hmm.
then it gives you a place to start.
Right.
With the building upon that relationship. Right. And so I think that's the most fun. You know, when we have them over for dinner and we play dominoes and trash talk each other and, you know.
I do not trash talk at dominoes.
And then the one time, do you remember when they came over and we played, what was that Shakespeare game?
The little card game where you finish the Shakespeare saying. That got a little out of hand, not gonna lie.
And our daughter-in-law
that went to kind of a strange place a couple of times.
She slayed it though. She beat us all. And she just has such a
dry
gift
wit
for the bard.
Like
but
her father-in-law has a dry wit.
Dry wit. But anyway, so yeah, you know, things that you share in common. But those are the 5 rules that we try really hard to abide by, especially the hold your tongue and respect their independence.
Bite my tongue.
You know, guidance, not directives, things like that. Those first 3 are really, and of course, pray. And, you know, I know we'll probably get questions or we might even get judgment on, you know, well, you don't understand. My child is X, Y, and Z, and I can't just cut them off. And, you know, or my child possibly is an addict, or, you know, I have to cut them off. And I mean, there's extenuating circumstances to any parenting relationship. So I do not sit here in judgment and or have all of the answers for you. I just know that these were the rules that were sort of given to us by my parents and the guidance that was given to us. And it worked really well with us and with them. Not so well with your side of the family because it's a different makeup of people. But, you know, it was what it was. And God is good and healing happens and therapy is covered by insurance. So it's all good.
Wow, that was an interesting string of logic there.
Consciousness, but it's true. Tell me what's not true.
No, that's not
There
true.
you go.
No, you got that.
So, there you go. So if you have, an opinion, if you have a question, if you have a comment, leave us, on our Instagram page or on this YouTube video. Let us know what you think. And if this has been your experience as well, or if you have another rule that you want to add to our rules, then let us know what that is, because I'd love to know how other people do it. But that's how we are trying to do it right now with our adult children. And
yes, I know. I'm trying to reach over to the Google
Jerry's
Voice
like
I forgot
making that
again.
face.
Because I forgot again to go to the Google Voice. Because
So you can call us at 571-354-0351. That's 571-354-0351. And you can leave a text, you can leave a voicemail, and we will get that. We will answer that for you. Okay. So now, Jerry.
Okay. I was just checking to see. I thought maybe somebody left us a question.
No.
They did
Can
not.
you take that off the screen so that we can...
Oh, see? Okay.
You can see your funky face that you've been making for the
Funky
last...
down.
All right. So now it is time
Okay, so
for the not so newlywed.
I know that's the newlywed game, and I thought
game.
about So here's my favorite. I don't know if we've asked this question before, but I thought I'd ask it anyway because I don't know why.
Okay,
I'm
am I
thinking
answering
about it.
for myself or for you?
No, this is for you. What's your favorite holiday and why?
Oh, we've already answered that a million times. Christmas.
What's your least favorite holiday and why? Oh, there's a different one.
My least favorite?
Yes.
I don't think I have a least favorite.
You don't have a least favorite holiday?
Well, I mean, July 4th is nice and everything, but it's hot.
Did you just diss America?
No.
Did you just diss July 4th?
I dissed the month of July, not the
July
holiday.
4th is almost my favorite holiday.
I know it is. But your number one holiday is Christmas.
Well, because I get books and stuff.
Yeah.
But still,
that was your not so newlywed game
But 4th
question.
of July is unique because not only do you get to like cook and eat a lot of meat over fire, but you get to blow stuff up.
Which is why you
Which
like
is
it
like
so
totally
much.
America.
No, I think my top three are Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving.
Okay, so that was my first not. Okay, here we go. Not so newlywed gay. Okay, question number 2.
Gosh, can you
what
even
book are
speak?
you reading right now and why?
I'm
Nonfiction.
reading. Oh, okay. The nonfiction book I'm reading is called Fight Right, and it's by the
Mike Tyson?
No,
I
it's a
didn't think
marriage
so.
book by they're 2 psychiatrists, Guterman. Get it? Yeah, something like that. But it's called Fight Right, and it's all about conflict resolution within marriage. We have
So
a lot
you
of
don't want
that.
to bite their ear off like Mike Tyson did.
No, I have no desire to bite your ear off.
Okay, just checking.
What are you reading?
Nonfiction. Fight Right?
It's called Fight Right.
By 2 psychiatrists not married to each other.
Yes,
I assume.
they're a couple.
How does that even work?
I don't know.
Like, how would you launch psyops on your spouse if they're also a shrink? Because you can't like use any shrink tools on them because they know them all. You know? I mean, that must be so weird when they argue.
I don't know. So far, it's an excellent book.
But I mean, think about
learning
that.
a lot.
I mean, think about that for a second.
No, I really don't want to. Okay, what is your favorite nonfiction book that you're reading?
Oh, what am I reading right now? Well, pretty much that's all I'm reading right now.
Is nonfiction.
As you well know.
That's pretty much all you ever read.
Yeah.
Unless it's Brad Thor comes out with a new one.
So actually, interesting book that I started reading. So I'm going through this sort of Lincoln phase, right? There's a number of new books.
Haven't you been going through that for 35 years?
Well, I know. But there's a couple of new books out about Lincoln. And one of the most interesting ones is, I think it's called Differ If Differ We Must, or Differ We Must, something like that. And it's about how Lincoln, even when he disagreed with someone about whatever it was able to discuss their differences and maintain a relationship, even if on whatever the particular subject they were arguing about, they said he basically said, well, we're not going to come to the same opinion on this. So if differ we must, that I can't remember the rest of his quote, but it basically said, that's fine. It doesn't change my relationship with you overall. It's just on this particular subject, we are going to disagree. Now there's a little undercurrent to that, of course, as there are to many history books coming out these days, which is a subtle swipe at the current state of our politics. But this I thought was actually timely because, at the end of the day, in a more perfect union, we would be able to disagree about things without it becoming a cage match to the death.
Yeah,
right?
that'd be nice.
I mean, I don't have to agree with you about everything in your particular political viewpoint or mine to be your friend.
Mhm.
And I think it was Thomas Jefferson who said, I'll paraphrase a little, who said, I hope that I never lose a friend over differences in politics. And I think that's something that we definitely are missing these days.
Not being able to have positive discourse.
Yeah. So anyway, Lincoln, of course, is always timely. And of course, there's always super cool new books coming out about Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, now it's my turn to ask a not so newlywed question.
You've been waiting for this.
If you could choose one experience from the early days of our relationship, so not our marriage, so our relationship,
okay,
to relive exactly as it was, what would it be and why? And this is a rated G show.
Oh, that's an interesting
I
question.
know.
It has to be rated G.
Jerry Don.
Oh, sorry, just checking.
That you would want to relive it as exactly as it was.
That's interesting. I would have to say Ring Dance. I thought Ring Dance was great, exactly the way it was.
I would agree. Wow, I didn't even think about that one, but yes, Ring Dance.
Not just a pretty face.
That's when I knew I was going to marry you. No, seriously, you were such a gentleman with everything that happened that evening, and you totally respected my privacy, and you had boundaries.
Okay, hold on. We have restless dogs now.
We have restless dogs. Okay, last question.
Yes, please, before the dogs overrun us.
So Ring Dance. Okay, we probably should. They're probably going to be like, "But what happened at Ring Dance?"
I behaved myself.
You did.
I was a perfect gentleman.
So what happened was...
Can we tell this now? We've been married 35 years, so we're probably okay.
Yes,
right?
we're okay.
Okay,
right.
Go ahead.
So we'll end with this. Okay. So when I met Jerry at the U.S. Naval Academy, I was, as we have told you before, I was not his date. I was somebody else's date, and they never showed up. So Jerry had the great privilege of escorting two young ladies to a Friday night mixer.
And don't you think I couldn't do it back then either? Because
you could do it now.
I could, even better now because I'm more experienced in worldly.
Exactly. And the dogs are going nuts.
Yeah, but anyways, you hear two dogs, they're fine. They're just playing.
Anyways, so we meet. We go to the spring formal, which is kind of like the test run. Does Mary know how to go to a formal dance? I think.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a try before you buy it.
I didn't. Oh my gosh!
You were being weighed. You were being measured. You were not found wanting. So you came.
I did just fine. Thank you. I was raised by two naval officers. Thank you very much. I knew what was going on.
You knew how to put on a corsage. That was pretty much. What
I knew how to do a receiving line. I knew how to dress properly. I knew how to act properly. Thank you.
That's correct. And you're okay wearing the gloves.
The long gloves.
The long gloves.
I sure was. And so it was Ring Dance. Ring Dance is the one dance you definitely want to be at. Take your sister, take your ugly cousin's next door neighbor, whatever. You want to be there. It's when you get your ring. It's when you get your senior ring. And your class, they always dip it in something, some sort of water. And your water, it's usually the water of the 7 seas all put together. Yes. But yours have been taken up into space.
That's right.
By an astronaut.
Because we were cool.
So it was the water of the 7 seas.
Up in space.
It's weird. Anyway, and the ring is on a blue ribbon that goes around the date's neck. And then I take it off my neck.
I never took my eyes off of that ring. I'm just saying.
Jerry Don, G-rated. Stop. Took it off. You dip it in the water.
Not to say that the dress you were wearing.
My dress was very modest. That was not the blue dress. That was Christmas formal, senior year. Oh, don't even go there.
Oh, that was a different dress.
That was a different dress.
I was after we've been dating for a while.
Yes. Okay. I made that dress.
The blue dress.
Yes.
Devil with the blue dress, blue dress, blue dress.
Wow,
Devil with the blue dress. Oh,
wow, we're going to do that. Anyway, I was in a very modest
We've been married 35 years. I
dress.
don't think people were shocked
I
that
took the ring off.
for the
And
80s.
would you stop? And I dipped it in the water. And then you walk through this giant replica of the ring. And in the middle of the ring, I put it on your finger.
Correct.
You kiss.
Big old smoochie.
And then you walk to the other side and get your photograph taken.
Photos are important.
Yes.
I think we have that around here somewhere.
No, we do not, because your class, the guy messed up like 2 whole rolls
that's right.
of photos. So we do not have that one.
Oopsie.
But anyways, enough said about that. So we go to the ring dance. And then his company gets together and they all got this block of hotel rooms. Now, I will not disparage anybody else's reputation, but let's just say not everyone was following the rules of chastity and gentlemanly behavior.
Okay, let me just break it down for you. She told her parents that she was staying with one of my friends.
Because I was.
Date.
I was.
Yeah.
That was
until she kicked him out because he was coming over to her room and Mary ended up in my room. Now, fast forward.
Okay.
So we were in the same hotel room that night after ring dance while my friends were breaking a few commandments.
Okay. Anyways, I didn't know what to do because I just didn't know what to do. Yes, I know we broke rules later in our relationship, but not at that point.
No, not at that point. I was still a midshipman.
And we were following the rules. And so I was kind of like freaking out. And I went into the restroom to use the restroom, and I come out and all the lights are off. And I'm like, oh, geez, this is bad. And then I hear this voice from the other side of the room. And Jerry was like, good night, sleep well. And what he had done was he had taken the comforter off the bed and he had made a pallet for himself over by the window, which was the farthest part of the room away from me where I was. And that's where he slept that night. And I slept in the bed. And he was incredibly respectful. He got up before I did. You went downstairs, you got coffee and bagels, brought them back up to the room so I could get dressed, shower, change, all of that. And then we went to Mass and we walked around Georgetown. And it was beautiful. It was lovely. And we didn't tell my parents that story for a really, really long time.
We didn't tell your parents many stories
many
for
stories.
a really, really long time.
Anyway, but the way that you treated me that night, because I was supposed to be in the other room. We had reserved it ourselves. The 2 girls had, and there was drinking and other things. And so she went and whatever. And you were just an incredibly kind, respectful gentleman, as a midshipman should be, always. And
I did look darn good in mess dress, didn't I?
You looked fantastic in mess dress.
Mm.
You most assuredly did.
I still rock a tux pretty well.
Yes, you do. You do indeed. Anyway, so that's the ring dance. So I would play that night, probably knowing what I know now, the same way I would, because it was just an opportunity for you to be my hero, and you were. You're my hero. What is that one by Bette Midler?
Oh, I don't know.
The wind beneath my wings.
Okay.
Anyways,
okay.
There you go. It's probably more than you ever wanted to know about the Lenaburgs, but there you have it. So, 5 rules.
5 rules.
To have a really great relationship with your adult children.
Bada bing.
Bada boom.
There you go.
That's what we got.
Mm-hmm.
And a story about Jerry being a gentleman and my knight in shining armor.
Mm-hmm.
Bada bing.
Bada boom.
There you go.
Yep. So at this point,
I think we come to the end of our podcast.
Sign off.
Please do subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube channel. Please do follow and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Do give us a call. Leave us a message. We also are on social media, on Instagram at the Mary and Jerry Podcast. You can send us an email. There's just a lot of different ways to contact us. But we'd love to hear from you. Please do leave a review. Jerry's like 5-star only, but whatever. Just be honest. Let us know. You could also support this effort on our Patreon. What else? I think that's it.
I think you pretty much covered it there, baby.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow, what is that face for?
That's my wise old man voice there that I'm
It
getting
looks
to
like
be.
you're missing teeth, but you have all of
Nope,
yours.
got all those.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to stop now before this just goes in a place that we don't need to go. Thank you all so much for joining us for the Mary
and Jerry.
podcast.
Ba-dum-bum.
Until next time.